Will you be able to play your favorite game tomorrow? Let's discuss. Today I'm going to be discussing some Xbox news with y'all. Make sure that you guys are Xbox ready. And then also I'm going to be having a segment called Ray's Rant. First up, Xbox is teaming up with Bluey the video game. Now, if you don't know what Bluey is, it is an animated series that seems to be just as popular with adults as it is with kids, which, okay, hear me out, guys. I'm not a stranger to that concept, right? I'm a big fan of animation as an entertainment medium. And there are definitely some shows that bridge that gap. There are shows that kids enjoy and adults can enjoy, like Avatar: The Last Airbender and any number of shows out there. Bluey, I just don't understand Bluey, man. I've never seen it, so that's probably the number one issue when it comes to understanding something, not knowing what it's about, not even giving it a chance. But I don't know. I don't really fully understand the Bluey hype, but Bluey, they made this video game, and now they're making the special edition Xbox where they made Bluey a square, and he's just kind of like looking all cool and cute and happy, and then has Bluey the video game on the side of the Xbox Series X. And it also comes with a controller as well, so it has Bluey and then what looks like some other dog on the other handle. Again, I don't know too much about Bluey. Should have watched at least an episode before I started filming the segment, but it's definitely not high on my personal priority list. Usually I look at these special edition team-ups and giveaways and things, and I am like, whoa, that's really cool. And I see this Bluey console, I'm like, you know, I'm sure someone out there will like it. I don't know who. I don't know, like, the crossover of people who really enjoy Xbox and Bluey, like what that intersection Venn diagram is like. But if you want your chance to win the special edition Bluey Xbox, you got to go over to X, formerly known as Twitter, and then follow Xbox and retweet all that stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory once you're there. You have until December 13th to retweet their post about this Bluey Xbox. And, you know, I don't know who wins these. Like, we see these contests come and go, and I never see them out in the wild. Very few times I've seen them out in the wild. Someone tagged me in the special edition Far Cry 6 one that they did, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Next up, we finally did it. We finally did it. Or Xbox finally did it. They beat PlayStation. Can you believe it? They beat PlayStation. We did it, boys. We can pack up our bags and go home. The console wars are over. Microsoft's gaming division, now that they own Activision Blizzard, combined with what they used to make with their Xbox division, is now catapults them into second place in terms of gaming revenue throughout the first 6 months of 2023, putting them firmly ahead of Sony PlayStation. There's like some caveats to this, and you know, there's probably like some number fudging, I don't know. But according to Quartz.com, Xbox through the first 6 months of 2023, meaning from January to June, made about $6 billion in revenue. Activision Blizzard made about $4.4 billion. Did I say billion for Xbox? I mean billion all around. We're talking billions, not millions. And Sony PlayStation, they made $8 million in terms of their gaming revenue. Usually that puts Xbox in about fourth place. It goes Tencent, Sony, Apple, and then Microsoft. But now that they own Activision Blizzard, their total gaming revenue through the first 6 months of 2023 would be just over $10 billion, which would put them in second place, Sony in third place, and Apple in fourth place. Tencent still in the lead with like $15 billion, but you know, most of their stuff is like mobile games. Some interesting takeaways from Quartz.com. 35.5% year-over-year jump in Activision Blizzard H1 revenues, the highest growth for any top 10 gaming company. So, you know, despite the fact that Activision, right now we're kind of associating them with Modern Warfare 3, which is not being reviewed kindly, not being talked about kindly, still had an insane amount of growth year over year. That's great news if you're Xbox. Extremely validating if you are Microsoft and you just spent a lot of money trying to acquire them. They're also seeing a 50% increase in gaming revenue Microsoft has told investors to expect in its next quarter. Hopefully they can take that increased revenue and not just like line their pockets, but reinvest that into their first party and make good games. And this isn't necessarily like money related, but 41% is the share of the world's population estimated to be playing or have played a video game, which would, I don't know, let's do some quick math here. Total world population, it's about 7.8 billion. So 40% of that is what? I'm terrible at math, so like at least 3 billion, right? 3 billion people out there playing video games. That's a pretty crazy metric. Because I often wonder, like, are there too many video games out there in the market? Are we seeing like video game fatigue? Like everyone's talking about Marvel fatigue right now. Oh, why is the Marvels flopping and doing so bad at the box office? Oh, it's because there's so many superhero movies. There's superhero movie fatigue. I often wonder sometimes, is that happening with video games? Because there's just so many nowadays, especially this year. There are so many good ones. But the numbers are saying no, people are spending more money on video games than ever before. And now Microsoft's gaming division represents a big chunk of that. But I often wonder, I'm like, what does it mean for Microsoft to beat Sony? Or Sony to beat Microsoft? Xbox versus PlayStation, the great console wars. And guys, I don't really know. I'm not really like a console warrior. Sometimes I kind of put my console war hat on for certain segments and certain topics, but usually I'm not that kind of guy. That's just not who I am. But I will be teaming up with Jimmy Champagne, who runs the PlayStation version of this channel, to talk more about what this means for gamers like you and me. What this means, like Microsoft making all this money in their gaming division. It doesn't even matter. So make sure you tune back in on Sunday, subscribe to the channel maybe, set your notifications to all to be alerted to that video, and I'm sure it's going to be a good time. But once again, if you are Microsoft, it must be pretty dang validating to see that you're getting these instant monetary results, especially when you consider how much money and effort they put into acquiring Activision Blizzard. But while gaming revenue may be up for Microsoft, these Xbox servers are going down. That is right. 13 Xbox game servers are going to be shutting down by the end of this year. And some of them I'm like, whatever, never even played that game before. But then others I'm like, no, wait a minute, hold on. Something ain't right here. The total list of games are Gundam Evolution, Rocket League, Battlefield 1943, Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Crysis 3, Dante's Inferno, Dead Space 2, Anvil Vault Breaker, NBA 2K22, both the current gen version and previous gen version. Now, for anyone who's confused about seeing Rocket League on this list, being like, wait a minute, they're shutting down the Xbox servers for Rocket League, this makes no sense. I got some clarification for y'all. Because this is being reported by TrueAchievements.com, they're not necessarily talking about the servers are shutting down, but there are certain online features that won't be supported that will affect your ability to get certain achievements. So technically it doesn't really belong on this list, so if anyone's confused, that's the reason why. But it's crazy because I still jump into Battlefield 1943 every now and then on the weekend, and the servers are still pretty dang populated. Like, I have no trouble finding a game in Battlefield 1943, even though it's a couple of years old. So it seems a little weird to me that EA is like, people are still playing this game, people are still having fun. Yeah, the airplane mechanics and the physics are probably the best that we've ever done, but let's shut it down. And also, NBA 2K22. Oh my god, I don't know what. These games are baffling to me. Like the NBA, NFL Madden, FIFA, these games they release every single year. They are more or less the same type of game with just maybe tweaks in the My Career mode and things like that, updated rosters. But NBA 2K22, it came out couple of years ago, and they're already shutting down the servers for it. And that wouldn't be so bad if some of the My Career single player stuff wasn't tied to online features. So it's like in games like NBA 2K22 and older, you can't even access some of the freaking single player stuff. It's turning out to be like one of the biggest hustles in the gaming industry. It's like, even if you don't want to buy the latest 2K or Madden NFL, they're going to shut down the servers for the old one in a couple of years anyway, so you're going to have to buy the new one if you want to continue playing online. And usually, guys, I don't really care if a game requires me to be online or requires an internet connection to access certain features, because I'm just kind of used to that now, I guess. Today everything's revolving around the internet in some way. I'm just kind of accepted it. But it's stuff like this that brings me back to reality, and it kind of shows me the ugly side of games that are always requiring an online connection in order to play, even the single player stuff. Because if you buy a game like that, what's to stop the studio or the publisher from years down the line from shutting it down and you just no longer have access to that game? Like, what would be really cool is if I could play classic Overwatch, Overwatch 1. But even if you have a physical copy of that game, it'll update to Overwatch 2. That Overwatch 1, it doesn't exist anymore. Which is just crazy to think about.